Yeah, first time I'm number one at this stall. Oh. Okay, good lunchtime today. It is Friday at about 12:10 or so. Hi, you're watching gregsbigeats and I'm here at Bukit Timah Market and Food Centre to talk about this Hainanese satay stall that I believe gets the closest to the original taste of old school pre-1970s Hainanese satay lah. A taste which is incredibly hard to get these days. The stall is run by third generation owner, 60-year-old Madam Pu Chen Ni, and her husband, Teo Ah Tiam, 61 years old this year. And Madam Pu's grandfather first started selling satay as a street hawker in the Bukit Junction area in the 1930s, before shifting to the canal at the Jalan Jurong Kecil area in 1964. Then they shifted to Bukit Timah Market and Food Centre when it became operational in the late 1970s, and they have been here ever since. So come, let's have a taste. Before we go on, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, Surfshark VPN. I've been talking about Surfshark VPN for many videos because I really think that their service is fantastic. The main reason why I use them is really for watching Netflix. You see, when you sign up for Netflix and say you're based in Singapore, you only get access to the content in Singapore, and that can be a bit limited. But when you engage a service like Surfshark VPN, you can change your location and see what Netflix is like in other countries. And there are shows and movies that are exclusive to those other countries, which you cannot get in Singapore. And now you have access to it. The other highlight is this app that they have, Surfshark Antivirus. It's a virus protection that's lightweight, clean, and easy to use. It provides real-time protection from viruses and zero-day threats. Also useful is their webcam protection feature, especially important in this current era of Zoom calls. It prevents any unauthorized access to your camera and notifies you if someone tries to access it. So if you want to give this VPN a try, you can visit surfshark.com and use my coupon code gregsbigeats. That will get you an exclusive deal and 3 months free. You get to try it out for 30 days, and if you don't like it for any reason, there's a money-back guarantee. I have a link in the description box below, and now back to the video.
I know what you're thinking and I'm thinking it too. Maybe we should both just let it go.
Hello, Auntie.
吃的，
吃啊，sugar mutton, sugar chicken, sugar pork， 还有一个ketupat啊，
又是一个人吃的，
一个人吃，
可以吗？
可以。
Grab my hand and you let me fall.
Okay, so I placed my order already. It's 10 chicken satay, 10 mutton and 10 pork plus 1 ketupat. And then you basically just head back to your table and then they will deliver your satay lah. Usually takes about 10 minutes or so lah. So we just have to wait lah.
All I promise is
谢谢你。Okay, so it's basically 80 cents a stick and the ketupat is 80 cents as well. They give you 3 bowls of satay sauces as well. Okay, so let's not waste time. Let's just try the satay naked first, without the sauce. So firstly, the pork satay. Okay, so the satay itself has a delicate flavour lah, where there is a light sweetness, light savouriness. You taste a little bit more of the spices, and it is slightly spicier than normal Hainanese satay. But the best part is that you can still taste the flavour of the meat if you focus on it. And it has a bit of that char-grilled smokiness. The meat pieces are bigger here as compared to other satay stalls. You get 3 larger than normal pieces and 1 piece of pork fat, which is sometimes a little bit small in my opinion. See this one is one where the fat is a little on the small side lah. That's a bit bigger would be better. Some Hainanese satay stalls like to emphasize the fattiness of the satay by adding 1 more piece of fat in between each piece of meat. So it will be meat, fat, meat, fat, meat. But here they don't believe in that. It's just meat, meat, fat, meat. They don't do that here because according to the owners, right, they want to emphasize that firm meat chew. And the fact that they're actually obsessing over how to retain that firm meat chew and yet still keep it juicy is really truly old school thinking. Because this was how satay was like in the past, pre-1970s. So because of the stall's insistence on firmer meats, it means that this satay is really only suitable for eating it fresh at the hawker centre. So at this stall, they will only start grilling the satay once you place your order. It takes about 10 minutes to cook, and then they'll deliver it hot and fresh to your table. Then it's best to eat it straight away because that's when the meat is optimal. The meat is firm, meaty, and still with a bit of juiciness. The longer you wait, the meat will slowly lose its juiciness and become quite dry. So forget about taking pictures and videos for social media, and don't think about ordering it takeaway, as it's not really designed for takeaway. Many Hainanese satay stalls these days will add some form of tenderizer so that the meat has a softer texture. Because customers these days prefer their meat soft and fall off the bone, that sort of thing. So soft satay is great for kids because that's what they actually prefer, but in my opinion, it might not be good for their jaw and teeth development. I've talked about this in a previous video, which I will link above, maybe here or there, somewhere. Next, the chicken satay. So again, the marination is light, slightly spicier, with some charred flavour. The meat textures are firm, and again, you have to eat it on the spot if you want some tender juiciness in the meat. Unlike pork satay, where there is a bit of fat, the chicken satay doesn't have much fat on the meat, if at all. But the texture of chicken is softer than pork anyway. And I haven't factored in the satay sauce, which adds oiliness into the mix. I'll talk about that later. Next, the mutton satay. Now this is a very surprising highlight for me. It has big chunky pieces, a light marination, slightly spicier than normal, and you can taste some light sweetness, light savouriness, light spices, and a reasonable amount of chili. But what's surprising is that you can also taste the flavour of the mutton when you eat it naked. The texture again is firm with some juiciness if you eat it fresh. I mean, this is rather special because the mutton satay here is very different from the Malay style of satay, where they heavily marinate the meat so that the texture is soft and you can only taste the marination and not the taste of the meat itself. Now, so far, you're eating the satay alone and it's nice and very interesting, but it's not wow. So the wow factor comes in when you dip the meat in the satay sauce. And the satay sauce is a big highlight, okay? So tasting the satay sauce on its own. Right. Thick chunky peanuts which are slightly softened, light to moderately spicy, and it has a lovely rounded oil richness. At this stall, they mix a bit of pork oil into the mix so that there's this lard richness in the satay sauce. And that's what makes it taste so good. The oil that they use is 70% palm oil and 30% lard oil. And according to Mr. Teo, he said that he would actually love to use 100% pork lard for the satay sauce itself. But that would make the satay too expensive for his customers because pork fat is expensive. Also, another point is that customers don't like oily satay sauce, so they don't put a lot of oil into each bowl. But if you like a little bit more oil richness in your satay sauce, just like me, just ask them for more of the oil and they will gladly accommodate you, just like this over here. This one is the one with not much oil, and this one is the one with much more oil. So, customary for Hainanese satay, they will also put in some pureed pineapple, and that has the effect of very subtly freshening up the satay sauce, very subtly, with some tanginess and fruitiness. However, it is interesting that the pineapple sauce is actually not smooth and has a rougher, chunkier texture. Madam Poo claims that her grandfather was the first to come up with the idea of adding pineapple puree in the satay sauce. And so eating the meat with the satay sauce, and this is where the magic happens. Mixing the pineapple puree first. So of course satay sauce should complement the meat, but it is especially true at the stall. If you find that the meat is not fatty enough, the sauce will add in a decent amount of fat richness. If you find that the meat is too delicately sweet, dipping the satay in the sauce adds just enough sweetness to make it more towards a medium sweetness. And the sweetness never goes overboard here. So the overall effect is that it has a light to medium spiciness, a little more spiciness than is usual, some pork oil richness, and peanut creaminess with a hint of fresh fruity flavour. yet the meat still retains its firm meatiness without it being too dry or lacking in fat flavour, thanks to the sauce. The overall taste is full, yet you can still taste the inherent taste of the meat, and the taste isn't overwhelming at all. Amazing. So next to the small sides, okay? The cucumber. It's cut with the skins on, and it's cut relatively thin. The red onions, punchy raw onion flavour. I mean red onion lah, what I expect. Next, the ketupat. Now this is properly made ketupat lah, where it is wrapped with palm leaf, so that when it is steamed, there is a palm leaf fragrance to the rice. And you can taste it here, even though it's cold. And this is unusual because most satay stalls in Singapore have practically done away with traditional ketupat and usually only offer ketupat in green plastic film coverings. So these traditional palm leaf ketupat is actually gotten from suppliers, but the rice is still quite nice lah. It has a nice compressed firm texture and the rice grains are meshed together a bit. Okay, finished. I'm redoing the conclusion because the sound conked out for some reason towards the end. I think I need a new wireless mic perhaps. So that was a look at Yong Seng Satay. But would I travel half across Singapore to eat there? A definite yes, but only to eat the satay at the hawker centre itself and not to take it away. I think that this stall satay is very close to the kind of Hainanese satay you would get in the 1960s and 1970s lah, where the meat had a firmer chew and where they used pork lard to make their satay sauce. Yes, I know that the satay sauce is not 100% pork lard, but this is really the only Hainanese satay stall that I've come across lah, where they still mix in a bit of pork lard to make their sauce. And it really does make a world of difference. Plus pork lard is healthier for you lah, as I've said in previous vlogs. Almost all of the Hainanese satay stalls that I have spoken to have switched over to using palm oil to make their sauce because the oil is cheaper. And they're probably not likely to switch back to pork lard because they know that their customers won't pay higher prices for satay for that lard taste. But for me personally, palm oil definitely tastes worse than lard lah. It's more hollow tasting and there's less of a rounded flavour, it's more flat. So if anyone knows of any more Hainanese satay stalls, right, that still use pork lard to make their satay sauce, let me know in the comment section below lah. I would love to feature them. So thanks for watching another episode of gregsbigeats, where I eat through the whole of Singapore. If you liked this episode, give it a like, subscribe and comment below and turn on the notifications bell, and I'll see you in the next one for more eating. Bye bye.